Hey Max, are you able to join? There we go. Max, I just sent you the invitation to join. It's not working. I see your invitation and I'm saying accept. It's not working. Max, you want to start the live and then maybe invite me? Oh, there we
There we go.
are.
There's always a little
Perfect.
bit of a lag on Instagram, so let's just give it a second. But I think we're all set now.
Perfect. Hi, Max.
So great to see you.
Good to see you too. Give me 1 second. Let's wait for a second. Let's wait for some people to connect right now. So we have, let's see who's connected. Andrés in Mexico. Hola, Andrés. Thank you for being here. Gracias por estar acá. Rebecca's here. Hi, Rebecca. Alex Lombroso, my husband, is here. Hi, Alex. Secret Warrior is here. Hi, thank you for being here. Who else?
It's good seeing everybody join.
Thank you. Let's give it 2 more seconds. Hi, Camilo. Thank you for joining from San Diego.
Ooh, local to me.
Yes. What else is there?
Good to see everybody.
All right. Should we get going?
Let's do this.
Marcela. Hi, Marcela. Thank you for joining from San Diego. Chill and Little 13 is here. He says, hey, Max.
Good to see ya.
Max, are you able to see the comments and who's joining as well?
Yep, I'm all set.
In case somebody has a question, just want to make sure you were able to see it. Perfect. All right. Well, let's get this party started. Hi, Marcela. Thank you. Victoria is also here. Hi, Victoria from San Diego. Thank you for joining. All right. Hello, Brain Buddies. Welcome to this very special Instagram Live. I am so excited because today we are joined by someone who is not just an incredible advocate, but also an absolute rock star in the Tourette Syndrome community. As you know, My Brain Bodies is all about bringing neurodiversity awareness, and today's guests help us with our mission. My name is Angela Lombroso. I'm the owner and creator of My Brain Buddies, and I'm also TAA certified peer mentor, and I'll be hosting the interview today. I want you guys to meet Max. He's a passionate voice with a big part of the Tourette Syndrome Association of America, and someone who's here to share his journey, debunk some myths, and most importantly, show us the power of owning your own story. Whether you're living with Tourette syndrome, love someone who is, or you're just curious and open to learning, this life is for you. Max and I met on May 2024 after my 6-year-old daughter was diagnosed with Tourette syndrome, and I was looking for support groups and resources. I joined a weekly support group hosted by the TAA, where we met online every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Max was one of those meetings, and I will never forget after I introduced myself and told him about my daughter's diagnosis, Max congratulated me for getting an early diagnosis and being so proactive. Do you remember that, Max?
I do.
Well, those words meant a lot to me, but also was a little confused as to why he congratulated me for getting an early diagnosis for my daughter. Well, fast forward a year and a half later, I now understand why you congratulated me, but we'll get into that in a little bit. So thank you, Max, for being here today. It's an honor to have you here. And let's get this party started. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the first question. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and who is Max beyond Tourette syndrome?
Of course, yeah. So, for anyone who hasn't met me before, my name is Max or Maximus. I'm 20 years old and I live in Southern California, specifically Orange County. I'm a full time worker, full time student getting my associate's degree. I graduated high school class of 2023, so still working through college. In volunteering in the summertime, you can find me as a camp counselor. I love dedicating my time to working with kids, working with community members. I work at two different summer camps and then I have my actual job full time. So it's really busy but really fun. I love any type of arts, ceramics, music was a really, really big inspiration for me growing up. So all those types of communities I keep very close.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. When were you diagnosed with Tourette syndrome, and what do you remember about that time?
Yeah, so before I answer that question, I want to give a little fun fact and something for the viewers at home. It's an estimated that about 50% of people with living with Tourette syndrome, doesn't matter if it's a child or an adult, but 50% live having without a diagnosis, fully undiagnosed. So I was one of those 50% for a very long time. I experienced motor tics and vocals tics starting about the age of 9 or 10, and I was told by my local pediatrician, kids are weird. You're fine. You don't need to get a diagnosis. Is it really impacting you? Is it really worth a diagnosis? So my parents were told, unless it's socially inappropriate, unless it's bothering him, it's not a diagnosis. Don't worry
Right.
about it. So I've lived with just knowing I do little things. Sometimes I twitch a little bit. I never had a word for it. I could never verbalize it. If I had issues with a substitute teacher in class, I had no way to explain that I couldn't control it. It was really, really frustrating. And by the time I turned 15, my tics got a lot more complex. And specifically, what I experienced was a complex whistle, an uncontrollable whistle that was a cat call.
Hmm.
15-year-old boy with an uncontrollable cat call. And my parents went, we're going to go see a neurologist. But unfortunately, when I started experiencing these tics, it was during it was about 2020, 2019. So we scheduled an appointment with the local North Orange County Neurological Center for March 22nd of 2020, and the
Hmm.
world shut down 5 days beforehand. The center closed down for over a year and a half afterwards, and I didn't actually receive a diagnosis of Tourette until I was 16 years old. So I really didn't get a lot of support groups or understanding what the disorder was. Really, for a long time, I just thought I was alone and just kind of weird. So a lot of my work giving back to the community and kind of discussing Tourette's and recognizing that it's fine that our bodies do this realistically is really really important as to what I do. um, Seeing community members, seeing joining support groups like we mentioned, made me realize that not only am I not alone, but I'll be okay.
I love this. So powerful. And that brings back to my point where I was saying that you congratulate me when I got an early diagnosis for my 6 year old, which I didn't understand at the time, but now I understand. Like you said, 50% go undiagnosed. And so for us to be able to get the diagnosis early on, it helps us understand and better support our kids. So I highly recommend, if you suspect that there's something going on with your child, definitely get them checked out and, get different opinions, not just one. If one doctor turns you down and says there's nothing wrong with your child, then that's great, but maybe get a second opinion, right?
And it's always important to recognize, even if a child gets this label, there is no strength or weakness to this. I'm not stronger because of my tics, and I'm not weaker because of my diagnosis.
Love that. Thank you. All right. Well, let me ask you. I think you answered the previous question. So let me go into a little bit of a stigma and raising awareness. What is the biggest misconception people have about Tourette syndrome?
One of the biggest issues that I've always experienced is people believe that my tics are constant, that what they see in one example of me in one specific setting perfectly explains all of the uncontrollable movements and neurological factors and emotional regulation that goes on with the disorder. So if you guys have seen the Titanic movie and you think about the actual image of the iceberg getting hit with the Titanic, you see a very, very small piece above the ocean. It's a very, very small piece of ice that does tremendous damage to the ship. Really, what happened was it was all the things under the iceberg, all the things under the ocean that you couldn't see. Even though I experience tics every day, I experience motor tics, vocal tics, uncontrollable movements, there's a lot besides that that comes into the disorder. An estimated 85 to 86% of people with Tourette's end up having what's called a co occurring condition or a symptom or disorder very similarly neurologically. These things could be OCD, anxiety, depression, autism, ADHD. And with Tourette, a lot of it is issues with emotional regulation, getting fixated on things, and having a lot of those outbursts and issues with impulsivity. And impulsivity affects anybody throughout life. That could affect somebody as easy as making a decision and doing your homework
Mhm.
to spending your paycheck as an adult.
Wow, well explained. Yes. And for our case in our family, our daughter was diagnosed a year ago, as I mentioned earlier. And we're just starting to see other signs of other conditions, right? So it's being able to identify those to better understand what's happening. It's not just a tantrum that's just throwing. The sound is the newest one. It says whenever something's loud, there's a lot of music, a lot of people speaking. She says that it hurts her eyes. So that's new to us. And now I'm working into getting a different diagnosis. Maybe it's autism, maybe it's something else. But it's super well explained that 85 to 90% of the people that have tics or Tourette syndrome have other conditions that come with it. It's not just the tics, right, that you see. That's
Hmm.
all the superficial, the part that we see, but under that, there's more to it.
Exactly.
Okay. Have you ever had a moment when someone surprised you with kindness or curiosity instead of judgment?
Oh, goodness. I love this question because this one at least lets me talk about a positive experience that I've experienced because of my Tourette's. I feel like when I talk about, the a disorder that I live with, I always get talking about, the difficult parts, but I love talking about just positive moments and interactions. And when I was 18 years old, I was on a plane by myself for the very first time. It was the Tourette Association's, I think it was Advocacy Day. So I was being trained as a rising leader. And on the flight back home, I was ticking so much. I was so loud. I had just spent 3 days with 300 other people with Tourette. So I'm picking up their ticks. My own are going crazy. I'm not keeping still. It's bad. And I go to the line to get on the airplane very first. I go with the disability line. I don't even wait to go with my normal queue. And I go tell the flight attendant, I just let her know, like, if I whistle, if I shout, I'm not doing it on purpose. I'm going to take my melatonin. I'm going to try and pass out. Don't worry about me if you can. And she's like, okay, don't worry about it. If you need anything, like, I got you. She was so nice. I ended up passing out asleep. I was so tired from the event. I slept the entire way from takeoff to landing. And she woke me up and she goes, honey, you didn't get anything to snack. Do you want anything? And I was like, oh, if I could get like a water or maybe like one of the little crackers, that'd be awesome. And she was like, do you like the Biscoff? And I go, I love these Biscoff. And she goes, sorry, sir, I think you dropped something next to your seat. Could I get your tote bag and I'll grab it for you? And she takes my carry-on tote bag and she goes to the back. Mind you, I'm on the last row, so it wasn't really
Okay.
far. Goes
Okay.
to the back, put the entire 36 count cookies in my bag.
Nice.
And because I was the last row, I was awake and ticking and being in the airplane for a long time. So I ended up just talking to the flight attendant and I was telling her all these things, like I was so appreciative and like thank you for understanding. And she goes like, you make some noises. I don't kick off babies on the plane.
Wow. That's so powerful and amazing. And see, it's just so easy to be nice to people all the time, right? But for some reason, we're just in this world where people just assume they're just rude and they're in a bad mood all the time. But it's that easy and it changes people's perspective and the way they go about their day. Just an act of kindness, like the flight attendant did for you, impacted your life, right?
Oh, I was telling that story to everyone I met for months afterwards. when you experience uncontrollable movements, whether it be positive or negative, even if it's socially inappropriate or not,
Mhm.
people verbalize and say things against it, whether or not you can control it, but that's how you're perceived. So to have somebody completely switch that perspective and say, I recognize you as a person is amazing.
Amazing. And from a mother's point of view, when my daughter is having a tantrum or when she's taking a lot in public, at first, before getting a diagnosis, I didn't know. I thought she was just misbehaving, calling for attention. So I didn't know. Now that I have a proper diagnosis, I feel judged most of the time because they say that people think that's a reflection of your parenting. So when she's full on screaming at a restaurant or having a tantrum, she can't control her emotions. People are just looking at me like, you know, especially in Latin America, I have to say, going to Colombia in October was amazing yet challenging, as a mother with a special needs child, because they just don't understand yet what autism is or Tourette syndrome. So here I was explaining to my family, the newly diagnosis that my daughter had, and they were like, "What is that? Can you educate us on that?" But yet they still looked at me like, "Why is she screaming like that? Like, why is she crying like that?" So it was extremely challenging, and I couldn't wait to get back home, back to our routine, back to not feeling judged, back to our little bubble here at home. Um, so yeah, so when as a mom, when if you see somebody, because I've experienced it like in a restaurant the other day, I believe he had autism. He was just not having a good time, and I just went up to the mom and I said, "You're doing a great job, mom. Good job." Like
Hmm.
something like that, where you're in a world where you're feeling judged. It's already hard as it is for your child and you as a mother, as a family, and then on top of that, you go to a restaurant, your child is having a tantrum, or taking uncontrollably, and then somebody just looking at you weird, or somebody just making a nice comment, just changes everything. So definitely recommend if you guys are seeing something like that, don't judge. Like try to like be kind and help if any way possible. So that's my perspective and my experience as a mother with the child that has Tourette syndrome. All right, let's move on to the next question. What would you say to someone who just got diagnosed or to their parents?
I think I told you this when we very first met, but going through the effort of understanding what your child is experiencing and finally getting a diagnosis, going through all the hurdles with the school, going through all the hurdles with the doctor, trying to recognize even with yourself that it's okay that what they're experiencing is happening is difficult. But many fixate on the unknown factors. What will my child happen in college? What will this look like in high school? What will this look like in a job situation? And with a lot of time with disability, we don't know. With a lot of times in real world, we don't know. No person could tell you what they're going to be doing in 10 years or how they're going to be doing or anything realistically. But when we get a diagnosis, especially of something that feels isolating, when realistically it isn't, 1 in 50 people have a tic disorder or Tourette syndrome. We can call it unique or special as we all as we want, but it's common. People fixate on the unknown factors and really just understanding that you have a whole community supporting you. There are thousands of people who have been in your shoes, struggling with those 504 meetings, struggling with those IEPs, trying to get your kid accommodated, that there is a community out there for you and there are resources for you. And it's hard, but taking it step by step and day by day, it slowly gets easier.
I love that. Um, can you briefly talk about the 504 and that IEP?
Yeah, so specifically with Tourette syndrome, which is the only thing that I was diagnosed with and getting accommodations, there's a lot of things against the grain that you could get. So, of course, there's general accommodations like extra time, bigger font size. If you want to, so I know some kids who have hard difficulty with penmanship because of their tics. Some kids type on computers for assignments instead. Getting
Mhm.
accommodation for that just to make things easier in class is relatively common. But with Tourette syndrome, simple things like being allowed to step out of class when I feel like I'm going to be loud, or even I take my exams, my final exams in college, which are worth 20, 30, 40% of my grade. I take them in the disability center by myself with a one-on-one proctor so that I'm not bothering others. There's also a level of understanding with, even though I'm allowed to tick freely and I can be as loud as I want and I can take up space in a room, there's also a level of understanding with my peers. So I go to classroom, I go to lecture, but when it comes to like the final exam that everyone's stressing out about, I'll go take it by myself and have no problem. There's no I feel no shame using accommodations that are meant to benefit me.
Great. Thank you for explaining it. This is all new to me as well. My daughter is going into second grade, and for the first time, the teacher told me that I should look into the 504. And my so said, "What? 504 what?" So here I am taking notes, Googling what is a 504, and it's a lot of information. IEP 504. So you did an amazing job explaining it. So for those of you watching, if your child is still in school, look into that. Those resources are there for you. The 504 and the IEP. Maybe we'll do a different live or a different video explaining more into detail what that is. All right, the next question is let's talk about your role in the Tourette Syndrome Association of America. So, what kind of work do you do with the Tourette Syndrome Association of America?
Oh my goodness. So this is one of my very first times I actually get to talk about it on social media. This will be fun. As of the start of this month, June 1st, I started as California's programs coordinator for the Tread Association, which has been amazing. I volunteered for them since I was 17, 16 years old. So it's been amazing going from, someone actually getting the resources and support from them to actually helping build the community and build our social experiences. So it's been an amazing process. Right now, I'm specialized, and my position is paid for by the Orange County Health Services Association. So my job is specifically to do the fundraising and support flyers, posters, events, getting people into events in OC. Not only online support groups, but we're looking at in person. Long term, it's really just getting the community involved and getting people who are new finding us as a resource.
It's amazing. Congratulations on your new position. You're going to do
Thank you.
amazing. I couldn't think of anybody more perfect to do this job than you. So congratulations. And I have benefited from those groups online. When I was feeling lonely in this journey, I have nowhere to go. And I found this group. I found you, Sophie, being able to talk to you guys for an hour on Tuesdays and ask my questions. And you guys always gave me comfort, advice, and answer all my questions. So thank you again for that.
Of course. And it's stories like yours that is why I do this because it's so important and it's so important for me to hear back just the impact that we're doing and just seeing it actually, families are being affected and people are benefiting from the work that we do.
Oh yeah, you're definitely impacted my life. And like I said, with that comment that you made, congratulating me, I was like, why is this congratulations? I mean, I just got a diagnosis and here you are congratulating me, but now I get it. And yeah, just being proactive and the way that you're being part of, raising awareness. So thank you a bunch for that. All right. So I guess let's go back into why is community so important when it comes to Tourette syndrome and neurodiversity?
I think we touched about it a little bit, but when we talk about the words in a diagnosis of Tourette, it's very isolating. You get told it's uncontrollable, it's
Yeah.
incurable, it's lifelong, there's not a proper medication or treatment for it. You get all these words that just tell you you can't. And it feels very isolating.
Yeah.
But just understanding how will I live past this is really, really important and really shifted my life. I went through a very dark phase when I was really having very difficult tics. My summer of sophomore year, I was stuck wearing a boxing glove on my hand most hours of the day because I would full force hit my sternum hundreds of times a day, repetitively, and it was just a tick. I couldn't stop it. There was nothing to fix it. And in situations like that, I felt so isolated. And really just understanding and seeing other people with these same ticks, with these same serious issues thriving, being at work full time, being at school full time, being in movies, producing, doing podcasts, making music, all of these things I was seeing. My very first time meeting anybody else with Tourette syndrome, I was 16 years old and I met, no, pause, 17 years old, and I was meeting 300 people with Tourette. I met doctors, people who were teachers, all of these different life goals in all these different ages across 50 states. And I had my aha moment, my light bulb, and I was like, I'm just gonna live. I'm just gonna keep living. I'm fine. I might move a little bit. I might hurt myself a little bit. It sucks sometimes. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It sucks some
Yeah.
days.
Yeah.
I'm fine. I'm okay. I'm gonna keep doing things. I'm gonna keep going to school. I'm gonna keep going to work. I might need some help. I currently don't have a license or drive a car because my tics are so bad and aggressive when I drive, but I accommodate it. I have an electric bike, so I get to school independently. I get to work independently. It's all about recognizing what can I do in my situation
Mhm.
because I have to do something.
I love that. And I love how you're turning this negative into a positive and you're, living your life the way that that you can. Let me see. We have some questions
We have
here.
some questions.
Can you read them?
Let's see. We're talking about, I'm curious to know if or how therapies can be beneficial to people with Tourette's, such as physical exercise, sports, playing instruments, and also wondering how we can guide them into these. So, this is actually a really good experience because this talks about tick frequency. So, as I discussed earlier, I won't be ticking the same amount per activity. Intense focus, intense physical activity, or intense emotions can trigger a response where there are less or more tics in individuals. It's really important to note when we talk about Tourette's, we're talking about a wide spectrum of a disorder because any tic is a movement or a vocalization that you could willingly do. That covers every muscle in your body, everything you could verbally say, everything you could do. So, of course, these lived experiences are really different. But for the vast majority, most people with Tourette's experience at least one or two activities that they can do relatively tick free. For me, my activities were I played tuba for 10 years. If I was playing an instrument, I wouldn't tick. I did entire 3 hour symphonic orchestras silent because I was playing an instrument.
Wow.
Could I do that if I was sitting at a library working on homework? No, you would be
Right.
hearing me. But that situation and that focus really does impact somebody's ticks. It's important to note, don't just throw all the options at somebody to try and manage ticks. But if you recognize that an individual enjoys something with and experiences Tourette's, you usually recognize that that person also ticks less during the activity. A lot of times when I talk to new parents in support groups and they say, "How can I support my kid physically?" I say, "What does your kid like to do?
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Let's do that. Let's do that more."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Whatever it is, playing an instrument, playing a sport, being in a group, anything. If it's an enjoyable activity and you're noticing less ticks, let's do it.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's a great question, Camilo. Thank you for asking that question. And yeah, in our case too, that's a help too. Putting my daughter into sports, social environments. Like, just depends on where we go. I notice her tics might get worse or less, and so. But I feel like playing an instrument has helped, and I've been reading online as well the benefits of, people with Tourette syndrome and finding that like playing an instrument or a particular sport. But it's case by case. Okay. So is there a project, event, or campaign that you're really excited about right now?
Ooh, goodness. Well, okay, I have a top three if that works.
Okay.
We're going to restart our support groups in Southern California. So we're going to be doing a empowering SoCal families webinar at the beginning of July. So we're just going to meet the staff members, discuss how you can be involved, and look at the resources that are locally provided, our in-person and support groups, of course. But we also have a one-on-one peer mentorship. So if someone is looking for support and doesn't want to do that group setting, they can say, "Hey, I'm from this area. I'm struggling with XYZ, and we can get you with a certified TAA person, just like you are with the mentorship." The second thing is I mentioned I was a camp counselor, but I didn't
Yeah.
really mention what I do. One of the camps that I do is Camp George, which is one of the largest Tourette's camps in the nation. We are in LA, so it's a little bit of a drive to me, but it's a wonderful experience. And then nationally, Tourette Association has what's called TICCon or TIC Conference. We do that every July, but it's a really good experience. Every other year is virtual. This year is virtual, starts this weekend. Fully free to register. I think we have over 75 people presenting. There's a
Wow.
lot of people, very diverse presentations this year. So I'm really excited to see how that goes.
I'm excited for that too. Thank you so much for sharing. We have another question from Alex Lombroso. I know that guy very well. Have you discovered any natural remedies such as herbal teas or oils that help minimize your tics?
When I was younger, I tried magnesium supplements
Mhm.
and vitamin D6, I think it was. And those were actually pretty beneficial to managing my tics at night. Most people with Tourette's don't tick in their sleep, but because I am just so unique and so rare, I also do that. So that was actually a challenge for me for a long time, and that actually benefited me. Um, Anything that decreases anxiety, anything that decreases those obsessive thoughts or impulse or any strong emotion, even a happy
Mhm.
one like excitement or stress or happiness can trigger tics. So really, at the end of the day, relaxing, having, maybe a warm tea or just really calming myself down in any way is really beneficial. But using things like, an essential oil diffuser or something that sets the tone of like, now is the time to calm down, now we're getting ready, does kind of help me out.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Okay, no more questions there. All right, um, so we're building a space for kids to feel seen and supported. What advice would you give young kids navigating Tourette syndrome and trying to feel understood?
Ooh, I would say that I think the best long term skill that any person, Tourette's or not, could focus on is self advocacy. Specifically with Tourette's, sometimes you're misunderstood, sometimes your tics are considered rude or impulsive or bad behavior. Whether it be a teacher, a substitute teacher, a librarian, even a parent's friend, people make bad assumptions about Tourette's.
Yeah.
The ability to just say, I can't control it, does amazing things. And the more that we advocate and the more that we talk about disorders like Tourette's, the more that people understand it. I work with coworkers who have been spreading the message and advocacy of Tourette's for over a decade. And I have people tell me stories that in 2005, 2010, they would be giving conferences to hundreds of people, and no one would hear the word Tourette before they showed up. They didn't know what the word Tourette was.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, because of social media, because of awareness campaigns, because of all the projects that we have done, people know us. People know the word Tourette. When you see on even TLC has Balin out loud talking
Yeah,
about Tourette's, there's a lot of places where people are now openly ticking. So recognizing just being able to advocate is amazing skill. Sometimes people forget that it's a behavior that we do by choice, but being able to verbalize that really goes a long way.
very powerful. Thank you. All right, so tying it into my brain body. So if you could design your own brain body plushie, what would its personality or features be? I'm
Oh my
taking notes.
goodness. So if I envision this, I would think teal, of course, for Tourette's. And as the animal, I was thinking like a bird or a parrot. Um, Something talkative, repetitive, mimicking others. But also very determined. Have you ever seen a parrot do one of those puzzles for just 10, 20 minutes? I had a pet bird, and if he could not complete a task, he would wait and wait and wait until he figured it out. One time, and I had this bird in my family for 25 years. He escaped from 7 different types of locks on his cage because when he wants to go outside, he wants to go outside.
Wow. Wow. Thank you for
Determined.
That's amazing, actually. I'm taking notes. So, I don't know if you had a chance to see our new plushie. He's actually teal. He's Benny the Brain. He's the Tourette syndrome brain. He's teal in honor of Tourette syndrome. But I like that idea of a parrot because they are very determined, and I feel
Mm,
like, especially in my daughter's case, she's very determined. She wants something, she gets it done.
absolutely.
Okay, all right, let's now get into some fun questions. What is your favorite way to relax?
Oh my goodness. This is gonna I'm calling myself out. I'm a total nerd. I actually love card games and board games and competitive little things. My big thing right now is Magic the Gathering, an older card game.
Okay, awesome. Hold on, we have some questions here. Oh, Cynthia says, I'm so proud of you, my son.
That's my mom.
No, oh my God. Cynthia, you're doing an amazing job. He's great. What do we have here?
Let's see. We talked about I know we discussed the remedies to minimize ticks. However, how do you stay grounded and focused during difficult or high pressure moments? Yeah, so high pressure moments happen all the time, especially when living with an uncontrollable movement disorder. That could be as simple as getting your prescription or going to a library, you know? So recognizing the feelings in yourself, or what's called a premonitory urge, the feelings before you do the action, is really important. And specifically with Tourette syndrome, what I would like to, say that did a lot of help for me is I did what's called CBIT therapy, cognitive behavioral intervention therapy for tics and Tourette's. It's management strategy to minimize the urges to tick so that the outward action doesn't happen. But really, long term, if you practice these skills of recognizing the feelings in your body before you do an action, that translates across everything you do. Your ability to recognize how you feel when you're anxious, how you're sad, before you're going to get really, really mad, all these emotions. So, really being able to hone in on how am I going to feel in this situation? How am I going to do? Do I need anything beforehand? How can I prepare? Really can minimize those experiences.
Awesome. We have another question. How do you navigate social situations so you're being candid so people understand your diagnosis while also not oversharing or coming off awkward?
So the Tourette Association actually taught me this little trick. We call it the elevator conversation. So imagine you're in a pretty good sized elevator and you're going up from the bottom floor all the way up to maybe the 30th. You got a couple of seconds to talk to this person, but they're not looking for your life story. They don't want to hear all the works. How can you verbalize your story in 20 seconds or less? And that was the
Mm,
goal of the project. And the way that I say it is, oh, when I introduce someone, I say, oh, if you notice me twitching, I have Tourette's. Just ignore any actions like that. I can't help it.
okay.
If I would like to, if I'm talking to the person long term, I'll say, if you want to ask me anything, feel free. If I'm talking to a kid, I just say, oh, I was born like that. Sometimes I move.
Hmm.
But it's really different person to person, and recognizing which one of those sentences you can say to the right
Hmm.
person helps out a lot. The
Yeah.
difference between telling a teacher, I have Tourette syndrome, it's a neurological condition that I can't control, so you might see that in class, compared to talking to the grocery store worker that looked at you a little bit funny, just saying, oh, I have tics, I can't help it. It's
Yeah.
really just gauging how much do you want to share or how much time do you have with that person.
Yeah, definitely. And for me as a mom, it's a little bit challenging sometimes because I don't want to overshare, especially because I want to respect my daughter's wishes. She has asked me not to share with a lot of people. So when we're having a moment and we're at the supermarket, like you said, I just have to, respect her wishes and just breathe and get all the judgy looks and move forward. But it just depends. So if we're in a social setting, like you said, and it's, close family, close friends or family members that I might have to explain what the situation is so that, she's not getting the judgy eyes or myself, for bad parenting.
Exactly. And especially when you're living with someone, being classmates with someone, you're being with someone a long time,
Yeah.
you don't want someone misconstruing or perceiving it differently. I was with my little sister's best friends for New Year's one day. We were watching a movie right before the fireworks, and I was whistling throughout the whole movie. And about halfway through, a friend pauses the movie and goes, who's whistling? Can they stop it? And my sister looks over and goes, my brother has Tourette's. He can't help it.
Wow.
And they go, I've known you for like 3 months. How come you didn't tell me you have Tourette's? And I was like, oh, I am able to tell people. I should be able to tell
Yeah.
people. But she just thought I was being rude.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not her fault. That's not my fault. It was just the fact that she didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah. In my case, also sharing with the teacher was important. So her first grade teacher, I had to let her know. Just I didn't want to get her in trouble or, like you said, misbehaving, being rude in class. Um, you know, so I had to share with the teacher, and we were working together closely to better support her. And she's the one that brought up the whole 504, which I had no idea what it was. But towards the end of the year, she said, I think it's time that you start looking into 504. So in my case, it was important to share it. And I think it was beneficial as well for my daughter and myself to work so closely with the teacher.
Hmm.
Okay. We have a comment. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing. for sharing that. It makes a lot of sense. And then Clara is asking, ¿alguna música en especial? Any special music or songs or that helps you?
I love I like playing classical music. I like performing classical
Okay.
music. I played jazz for a little bit. Jazz is fun. I did percussion for a little bit. That was great. But I collect a lot of music. So I like a lot of artists who are rock or very upbeat and loud.
Okay.
Something
Awesome.
to pump me up.
Nice. Okay. And I think you might have answered this, but what hobby that makes you feel free?
Ooh, I actually haven't shared this one yet. My favorite hobby, and I don't spend too much time on it, I really wish I could spend more, is I have a ceramics studio in my garage that I'm working on. So, ceramics, I do the wheel, the big spinning one. Because of the amount of weight the clay takes to move and the amount of focus I have to think about the shape that I'm building, I could be doing ceramics and you wouldn't even notice that I have Tourette's for hours. I took a ceramics class in college, and I don't think I told anyone about my Tourette's until like finals week.
Wow. Wow. And that's an awesome hobby too. You should give us an online class or something, or when you come to San Diego, give us a class.
Oh my goodness, I should.
One thing, oh, lentil soup. Oh, I like that name. Lentil soup says, I dance a lot of loud music. I dance to a lot of loud music to regulate myself. I like that. Yeah, music for me too. It helps me regulate my emotions too. Okay, so one thing people should stop assuming about Tourette syndrome.
Ooh, I hate it when people assume that my tics aren't that bad just because they don't see me swearing or having a very big like episode. I've gone through years of therapy and medications to be able to manage my movements. So of course I'm not going to show them to somebody who I met at the grocery store, you know? The perception that I have of my tics is very different than the perception that other people will see.
Okay, thank you for that. And last one, what is your superpower?
Ooh, I said it before and I'll say it again. I'm determined. When I have my mind on something, when I have a goal, it's happening.
Okay, I like that. I love that. All right. Does anybody else have any questions? We're almost done here. Or do you want to share anything else? Did we miss anything that people want to know or you want to share, Max?
The last thing that I can think of as a little bit of a fun fact about me that I love sharing is my girlfriend also lives with Tourette syndrome, but and whenever I tell them people this, they think, "Oh, did you meet with the support group? Did you meet like through a TAA?" No, I met her at a party my freshman year of high school, and I had a tick where I would knock on wood every single time I saw a wooden object. I would do a little double knock on it. She ticked back, "Who's there?"
Oh, I love that. Wow. And you guys been together how many years now?
So we didn't start officially dating until I graduated high school, so it's only been about a year and a half, almost 2 years.
Okay. Well,
But
congratulations.
yeah, I love telling
That's,
that story. I think it's a fun
yeah.
one.
Yeah, it is. It is. All right. Any other questions? I don't see any other questions on here.
But yeah, this was so fun. I love this.
Thank you. Thank you again for your time. So thank you so much for being here and for sharing your voice, your story, and strength. You're not just educating people, you're empowering them. To everyone watching, let this be your reminder that different doesn't mean broken. Different means powerful, and people like Max are proof that living with Tourette's can come with a whole lot of heart, humor, and heroism. Make sure to follow Max and support the Tourette Syndrome Association of America and keep showing up with love, curiosity, and don't forget, our brains are our bodies too. And I think that's it. Do we have Alex says thank you for sharing your story, Max. You're smart, very well spoken, and admirable. Victoria says, I love the story of how you met your partner. So cute. Lentil Soup says it's nice to hear people talk about TS. Thank you, both of you. Thank you guys for being here today. Camilo says very informative. Thank you, Camilo. Thank you for being here. And then we have, oh, I actually have one more question. So I love this. How would you like the Tourette's community to look like in 10 years?
Goodness. I think what I would like to see is that there is more togetherness when it comes to people with different tics. A lot of times when we talk about uncontrollable swearing or what's called coprolalia, which is the medical term for the uncontrollable vulgar language, a lot of times people separate themselves into, oh, only 10% of people with Tourette's have that.
Mhm.
Not only are you telling someone, when you say this 10% with that affliction, you're telling someone, we don't really swear like that. We don't really tick like that. But when I tell you that I have met over 1,000 individuals with Tourette's in the last couple of years, and if I heard someone say, you don't tick like that, we don't tick like that, I would point them towards any individual in the room because I have never met two individuals with the same tics. I never have and I never will. It is such a diverse disorder that we are so unique in those factors. And I just really hope that we see a little bit more of a unity and connection towards different types of tics in the community.
Definitely. And I feel like raising awareness. So even if you don't have Tourette syndrome or don't have anybody close to you that has Tourette syndrome, if you're able to share this information, especially right now, we're in the month of awareness for Tourette syndrome, right? So May 15th to June 15th, this is the month. But don't let it just be this month. If you can share it, throughout the year, or educate yourself. I feel like educating yourself, reading about it, asking questions, it's very empowering, right? And able to
Absolutely.
support those with Tourette syndrome. And even again, if you don't have it or nobody in your family has it, you're able to educate your kids or your family members. My mission is to also educate people in Latin America because it's very new down there. So again, when I even say it, they look at me like, what, Tourette, what? So that's my mission to be able to educate people down there, especially low-income communities that don't have the resources and the support that we have here in the United States. So, all right.
Absolutely.
Anything else? Anything you want to close this interview with?
Thank you for all the questions, everybody. It was really great getting to talk today.
Thank you. Thank you guys for being here. And thank you, Max, again, for being here, being so brave and opening your heart and sharing your story with us.
Of
Till next
course.
time.
Until next time, take care.
Hey, guys. Have a good night.